Percy Shelley called Ozymandias. It tells of a traveler wandering through the Egyptian desert who happens upon a huge stone ruin, broken, half buried, a pair of legs over there and a broken face over there, and a large inscription that declares his name, Ozymandias, and his eternal might. Yet it stands broken. The empire that created that statue has eroded and become consumed by the desert sands, leaving it all but invisible. Mankind aspires to create such monuments that are assumed to stand forever. But we all know that they won't. This morning, I wish to enlighten you on some other monuments built over the past 50 years, not in stone, but in computer software. Let me set the stage for you. 50 years ago, North American society was running at the peak of its better living through technology mentality. Technological progress was in high fashion. It was everywhere, and these electronic computers were being recognized as the calculating powerhouses that they were. They would transform business, and indeed society. It was about this time that we began to see the first of these high-level programming languages. These are tools that even further extend the capacity and capability of these computers, these fascinating computing machines. Two of these programming languages that appeared early on were called COBOL and Ada, two beasts. COBOL stands for Common Business-Oriented Language. And Ada was named after a historical computer figure. It was developed by the United States military for use in mission-critical systems. So, with COBOL used to develop business applications, and Ada used to develop government and military applications, these two languages were at the core of a multitude of systems, complex systems that were built up, intended to keep control of huge retail inventories, manufacturing processes, government document processing, satellite communication, air traffic control, and even Cold War missile installations. But like crumbling empires in the Egyptian desert, these systems are aging. And nobody uses COBOL and Ada to create new computer systems. The expertise that's required to maintain these old legacy systems is severely dwindling. The governments and militaries that initially invested to create these new systems are struggling to continue to invest to maintain and renew these systems. So the question is, what's to become of these modern day statues that declare their might for eternity? Creating new experts in languages like COBOL and Ada is difficult and expensive. Nobody wants to take on such a niche specialty. Completely rebuilding these complex systems using modern technology and languages is even more expensive. And the latest suggestion I've heard is to build a computerized translator, a machine that would sift through the billions, and that's with no hyperbole, billions of lines of COBOL and Ada code, this twisty, archaic language, and skillfully reinvent these systems into something modern and familiar. Given the first two options, this is an exciting automated solution. But I feel a sting of suspicion when I think of a complex system that's been rebuilt through an entirely automated process. And what happens the day it breaks down? At that point, human beings who have never touched that code before would have to lift the hood, so to speak, get in there and try to diagnose and fix a system that they have no understanding of its inner workings. The whole thing was built by a machine. It could be the most painful reverse engineering effort ever. There's no happy ending to this story. There's no ironic conclusion. There's no moral lesson to take away. It's a situation that's in progress right now. It'll most certainly require a lot of focused effort and a lot of money to fix. Or perhaps maybe some of these systems will not be updated, salvaged. They'll be left, and they will become the statues of Ozymandias of our time. Here's a closing thought for you. Whenever you make the drive to Calgary and you pass through Alsace, you will see a modern-day statue of Ozymandias in the shape of a great golf ball at the border. It's a radar installation, originally part of NORAD's Pine Tree line of defense, waiting and watching for Soviet bomber attack. And the skeleton of that system still stands, no longer operating, no longer identified, no longer maintained. Its electronics and software were never updated. This isn't maybe this is not a tragedy. It's a reminder that such empires of might can pass away when they are no longer relevant. Such assertions of might are no longer needed. Perhaps statues of Ozymandias throughout the ages will serve to remind us that mighty empires can fall away to make room for a new order and new relationships. At the very least, it lets me interpret that funny-looking golf ball at Alsace as a gentle reminder that maybe it's not always a bad thing to let empires crumble into the desert sand. Mr. Toastmaster.